Hey everyone. Just a reminder that control is relative. You can control what you can control, but you can't control what you can't control. Simple, right? Simple enough. And yet we struggle to accept that. When you're a kid, you think that experience is what life is about. And it's only once you're grown up that you fully appreciate and lament that experience. Though I could be talking from a place of privilege, because I'm well aware a lot of kids undergo some horrific conditions. And that's just so depressing because you anticipate adulthood, you live in a prison in your house or wherever it is, or, your childhood is essentially just a prison. And then you enter adulthood and you think, you're finally going to get away from all that. But then it's merely the ability to curate your own prison, right? Pablo Escobar had parties and models brought to him in his prison, but he was still in prison. Why is it that we I guess maybe I can speak for me. Like, since I was about like 16, 17, I'm pretty sure I reached nirvana, right? I'm pretty sure I reached it because after hating high school the way I did and the fucking high schoolers, simply because I had a few more kgs than they were comfortable with. Once I started working out and my body changed in front of them, somehow their opinions changed of me in front of them, in front of me. And some visceral part of me just said, what the fuck am I trying to fit in with these pieces of shit for? I came to the conclusion that, it's pointless. It's pointless to give a fuck. Literally, the phrase, when the phrase "I don't give a fuck" entered my mind, I was literally free. From like age 16 till now, I have been at a constant just mental state of contentment, I guess. Yeah, there's been good times, there's been really shitty times, yes. But I think it's good to strive to have a blank mind. Because me personally, until I have to use my mind, I don't use it. Like, I'll be getting up in the morning, doing all everything you need to do, having breakfast and all that, and it'll pretty much be autopilot. But if somebody engages me in conversation, I won't use my mind unless something they said like engaged me or provoked me. You know how you can meet a person and like it's one of those days when you're just completely on autopilot and you just want to listen to people and be nice and polite, and then someone just keeps talking and you keep nodding, but part of you says, hold on, that's some stupid shit this guy just said. What the fuck? You know? But in old times, my mind's pretty it's reached an equilibrium, I would say. And as a result, I'm never really invested in a lot of things, which By the way, there is no point to, because you're investing energy that's going to be lost. Well, the things we say that we're investing into are going to perish, sometimes very quickly. And that causes a very negative cycle to us. We're invested in our lives, yes. But to what end? Because the problems my grandfather had are still here, plus the problems that I have, which he couldn't even imagine. I probably couldn't even imagine the kind of problems he had, yes, but he probably couldn't imagine the kind of problems I have. I mean, my own parents have finally come to the acceptance that, yeah, our generation is fucked in terms of dating, in terms of finding work, in terms of owning homes, in terms of just, in general, we're fucked, right? These are boomers, by the way. Boomers have started to catch on, right? We're fucked. Coming to that acceptance is one of the most gratifying experiences anyone can ever have. We're fucked, right? There's no point in ruminating over it every fucking day. Yes, we're fucked, right? Quit your job, don't quit your job, you're fucked, right? And I think a lot of people in this space talk about how the system we're in is pretty much built to extract as much life out of humans as possible, right? Even after death. Like, I just saw a video of a guy talking about how they had a hologram of Tupac. Tupac died in 1996. Yeah, I think I did see it actually a while back. A hologram of a dead rapper. Right? So even after death, you're still kind of fucked. At least in this fucking hellscape. But what do you do then? I don't really think I have the solution for that, if I'm being honest. All right? My solution might sound good to you, but might not actually apply to you. And I think that's where a lot of conflict comes in with humanity, because yeah, we're all different, but like, us being different doesn't mean that it's a cause for suppression or supremacy. Although that's how it ends up. Do you want to die happy? Have you ever just sat down and asked yourself, do I want to die happy? Right? I'm pretty sure nobody actually wants to die. Like, if you want to die miserably, you know, you were already dead. If you want to die miserably. Our human brains, even if you're a person born without the capacity for empathy or maybe fear for some reason, we are wired to run away from death. We are wired to fight for our lives, but it's a biological response, right? It's hard coded into us to want to fight for our lives, right? Us and every other sentient being. Everybody's fighting for their life every day. We normally reserve that phrase for people who are in hospital dying of a terminal illness, or maybe surviving a horrible accident or something. But everyone's out here fighting for their lives every day. And as a result, we're always in survival mode. Even in social interactions, we're like, how am I going to survive this social interaction? How am I going to come out on top in some way, right? At least subconsciously. Well, let me be charitable and say, you know, most people aren't like that. But the ones who are like that, especially overtly, affect the people around them. That's how we are as humans. We affect the people around us. Very easily, actually. So if we're constantly in survival mode and we're refusing to believe that we're fucked, I think it creates this irreparable amount of cognitive dissonance. There's a beauty in futility, personally. There's something beautiful about futility. When you accept that you're as weak and vulnerable as the day that you were born, you learn to see other people as weak and vulnerable. Not in the sense of exploiting them, but in the sense that you would treat a weak and vulnerable animal, like let's say a bird that just fell, I don't know, on your front porch or something and had a broken wing kind of thing. Or maybe a cat that's really hungry and just approached you for food. In a sense of compassion, right? This is a mindset. It's not necessarily a way to move around in the world, although ideally I would like it to be that way. But if you move around like that in this world, you will be exploited to shit. You will be just dragged through the fucking mud because so many people can't attain that level of conscientiousness. So many people, and it's one reason why you'd see a lot of people, when you start paying attention to people, you realize who's insecure and who's insecure about you. Doesn't even have to be in a relationship sense, like you're dating them or anything like that. It could just be friends, right? People around you, colleagues. You'll notice who's insecure about you. And it's very apparent. They might not say it in front of other people. They might just be saying it to you, but you don't realize that. That's why I found it so futile to engage with a lot of people. Because my default setting is to just exist and to interact and to enjoy. That's my default setting. And I think it's the default setting of a lot of people, but we have committed everything into this rat race at the expense of our friends, our family, our passions, our hobbies, our downtime. We've expended it all just to fit into a psychopathic system. It's so crazy to me how how feminism played the long game, right? They waited until the Industrial Revolution started, when feudalism ended, when people started moving into big cities. That's when they started to fight for equality. They didn't fight for equality on the farm. They didn't fight for equality on the battlefield. They didn't fight for equality on the fucking ships. I mean, I don't think they were allowed on ships. I don't know. I can't remember. But either way, it's not a place you would have wanted to be. Like, pirate ships was some of the most god-awful places you could possibly be on the planet, right? Just filthy, all kinds of things, right? It's so crazy how they waited for things to become even more convenient for you to talk about it, for you to force your way through the door. And even as they become incrementally more convenient, they're getting louder and louder and louder about it. And it's so crazy how we're not even leading into anything that's even remotely equitable. Like, every time I look at these statistics about how much inequality there is and how, okay, sometimes I would see some studies that say, like, we're literally in a more unequal world than during like the 17th and 18th centuries, during the times of chattel slavery, right? Equality in this world is a huge lie. Futility, on the other hand, is the most indifferent truth you can accept. Because you were handed your cards at birth. You were already handed your cards at birth. And the thing is, to drop one of those cards takes, like, the biological ones, you will never be able to put those down, right? The mental and psychological ones, almost as hard. You'd have to do so much internal dialogue and therapy and introspection for you to undo how you were done, right? That's why I see death and even futility as such great rewards. Because they are great rewards. It doesn't mean that you, in your spirit, don't have an urge to fight, to explore, and all this kind of things. You do. But in opposition to all the motivation porn that we're fed, it is good to know your limits. It is. Knowing your limits, the people who know their limits are the strongest people. It's not the ones who don't know their limits. The ones who don't know their limits burn out incredibly quickly. It sounds good, but it's a very terrible way to live. You do have to know your limits. In everything you do. Even in the things that you're good at doing. Academics, your career, consuming content, right? We're all good at consuming content, that's for sure, right? Whatever it may be, knowing your limits is probably the strongest thing you could possibly, because limits are boundaries, first and foremost. Limits are boundaries. When you have boundaries, you know when to push them forward or to push them back, and you know who to let them cross. Or you can let somebody through a boundary, right? Somebody crossing boundaries is different, but you can let people through those boundaries, right? When you have no limits, you have no boundaries, really. And it further pushes you into a state of denial, right? Me personally, I guess I'm in a state where I know if I were to die tomorrow, I'd die happy. Even if I was however miserable, I would die happy. And I think that's what we can that's pretty much all we can really hope to achieve. Because even your death, you can't really control. You don't know when it's gonna be. You don't know when it's gonna be. You don't know how it's going to be. And thinking about it is only going to make the problem much worse. You can control whether or not you accept it. And it's a daily task. It's an act, actually. It's not even a task. I see it as an act. A very beautiful act. Internalizing death as a part of you will really help you understand that life itself doesn't have very many layers. We just add them on to shield us from reality. So take it easy sometimes. Really, take it easy sometimes. You'll be much better off for it.